Hello. Thanks for taking an interest in the work of Volunteer Fairfax. Our mission is to mobilize people and resources to meet regional community needs. My name is Matt Little, and I'm the Emergency Response Program Manager here at Volunteer Fairfax. Today, I'd like to introduce you to the many ways that Volunteer Fairfax is active in emergency response, and to show you how you can get involved. After a disaster, we often see the very best in our society. People generously offer their time and resources to help those that have been affected, usually with no expectation of compensation or even reimbursement. Faith-based groups, nonprofit organizations, businesses, and the general public come forward to offer assistance. At Volunteer Fairfax, it is our job to manage and direct volunteers, as well as donations. We work closely with Fairfax County government to ensure that those efforts are helping, not complicating, the larger disaster response. When somebody wants to help their community, but has no prior affiliation to a disaster response agency, we refer to them as spontaneous, unaffiliated volunteers. Volunteer Fairfax qualifies, directs, and keeps track of these volunteers from a single location known as the Volunteer Reception Center, or VRC. And while we have a plan in place for spontaneous volunteers, we have found that it is always better to sign up with an organization ahead of time. This allows for more in-depth training and familiarity with best practices. It also allows emergency managers to more accurately estimate the resources available. Volunteer Fairfax works with hundreds of organizations that want your help today, not just in times of disaster. We encourage interested emergency volunteers like you to find a group ahead of time so that you can be trained and prepared before you're needed. Another Volunteer Fairfax responsibility concerns donations that come after a disaster. Just like spontaneous, unaffiliated volunteers, donated goods can, at times, be more of a hindrance than a help to emergency management professionals. The amount of effort needed to sort, clean, and distribute things like clothing and shoes is incredible. Additionally, we're not able to pass along home-prepared foods to disaster victims. That is why we encourage anybody interested in giving to give cash to an established, credible disaster response group. If you would like to donate material goods, be sure to first check what items are being requested by local responders, and then only bring those goods to established intake locations. Ahead of a disaster, Volunteer Fairfax encourages collaboration between nonprofit groups, local governments, and businesses both here in Fairfax County and in our neighboring jurisdictions. As you can imagine, disasters rarely affect a single town or city, so it is important that these relationships be well developed ahead of time. If you work with a community group interested in helping after a disaster, please reach out to us at Volunteer Fairfax. Just like with volunteers and donations, the more prepared and connected we are, the more effective we can be when it counts. If you'd like to learn more about the ways you can get involved or hear more in-depth information about one of the Volunteer Fairfax roles mentioned in this video, please visit www.volunteerfairfax.org. If you're interested in hearing about disaster volunteer opportunities, please add your name to our e-response database through that website. There's no pre-training involved, just your name and email address. Now that you know what Volunteer Fairfax does for the community in the aftermath of a disaster, it's time for you to decide how you can get involved. Please take a look at the other videos available on our website, as they offer more in-depth information about the work that we do. If you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch with Volunteer Fairfax directly. Our goal is to make it as easy as possible for the public to start preparing today. On behalf of everybody at Volunteer Fairfax, I'd like to encourage you, be a volunteer.